Wake up, motherfuckers. It's time for Week 2 NFL review featuring Puppy Time. Let's fucking go! Kansas City versus the Chargers. First off, fuck the NFL for putting this game on Amazon Prime. The latest installment of the Herbert-Mahomes rivalry was set up for a suspenseful finish, but in the end, it was actually somewhat boring. Mahomes and Kansas City started off looking like shit to fall behind 17-7 in the third quarter, before Mahomes had a beautiful 41-yard touchdown pass to make it 17-14. Mahomes' final numbers looked good, but overall he was pretty mid, no offense to the Harry Potter franchise. The defining play of the game came in the fourth quarter with the score tied at 17. Herbert drove LA to Kansas City's 3-yard line before throwing a 99-yard pick six. Herbert had 2 drives down 7 to try and tie the game afterwards, but he couldn't capitalize on them. Kansas City added a field goal, then Herbert hurt his ribs badly, but not before firing some dimes to add a last-second touchdown to reach the final score of 27-24. Herbert is most likely going to be taking pain-killing injections the rest of the season, and thankfully for him, the Chargers have a very good history of doctors injecting quarterbacks with pain-killing injections. Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. If Jacksonville got to play the Colts every week, they would put the Brady-Belichick-era Patriots to shame. Indy is the one team thus far in his short, disappointing career where Trevor Lawrence has lived up to the hype. In this game, he completed 83% of his passes for 2 touchdowns and a sparkling 121.5 rating in a 24-0 win. Matt Ryan was absolutely atrocious, throwing 3 interceptions with a 34.0 rating. If the Colts are ever going to get back into contention, they need to stop being little bitches and stop putting a band-aid on the quarterback position and go after somebody in the draft. God damn it, Andrew Luck, why did you have to quit? You should be competing with Rodgers, Brady, Allen, and Mahomes for MVPs right now. Please excuse me while I go cry like a 10-year-old girl in the bathroom. New York Jets versus Cleveland. This game featured one of the most unexpected and unlikely fourth quarter comebacks in NFL history, and it might have not even been the best comeback of the day. The game was pretty evenly matched for most of the way, even being tied at 17 early in the fourth, until Cleveland seemingly pulled away for good with 2 touchdowns from Nick Chubb, no offense to guys with small wieners, to take a seemingly insurmountable 30-17 lead with 1:55 left. Then, some genius on the Jets sideline pushed the Activate 2012 Playoff Flacco button on Joe Flacco's helmet. Flacco then proceeded to throw a 66-yard touchdown on a broken play to make it a 30-24 game with 1:22 left. Then, New York recovered the onside kick before the ultra-elite Super Bowl 47 MVP fired a rocket to rookie wide receiver Garrett Wilson to take a 31-30 lead with 22 seconds left that ultimately won the game for the Jets. Losing this game is easily the worst thing the Browns organization has done in the last 12 months. I can't even think of a close second. Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. I just want to take a moment to say how thankful I am to be living at the same time as Tom Brady, who is an angel sent from heaven to win Super Bowls at all costs, even his marriage. Just look at how classy he is.
Shit, my diaper! And it really smells! There's no porn on here! I'm a dinosaur! I want pizza bagels!
In this game, he purposely played like shit offensively for 3 quarters so he could show off his defensive skills. He still threw a dime for a touchdown to take a fourth quarter lead, but his ability to dominate on defense is why he's the GOAT. He forced 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the fourth quarter, and a forced fumble while New Orleans was driving for a score in the second half. Overall, he heroically led his offense to 13 points on 11 drives in a 20-10 win. Still not impressed? Just know that Brady did all of this with a poopy diaper. Meanwhile, I warned Saints fans about anti-groping enthusiast Jameis Winston. He is completely reckless about where he puts his balls, and it gets him in trouble. As for on the field, Winston throws a bunch of bad interceptions as we saw in this game. It's about time Brady got some defensive support. I mean, having 15 top 10 defenses in his career thus far wasn't enough. Miami versus Baltimore. Go ahead, Tua fans, talk your shit. You deserve to after Mr. Noodle Arm matched NFL legend Matt Flynn with 6 touchdown passes in a game in this thrilling 42-38 comeback win against non-murderer Ray Lewis's former team. Baltimore returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, then Tua found Jalen Waddle to tie it at 7. Then Lamar Jackson exploded for 3 straight touchdowns to take a 28-7 halftime lead. Tua cut it to 28-14 with another touchdown pass to deceptively athletic tight end Mike Gesicki. Then Lamar casually ripped off a 79-yard touchdown run to make it 35-14 Baltimore heading into the fourth. Then, in the span of about 7 minutes, Tua threw 3 touchdowns to tie the game at 32, 2 of which went to Father of the Year candidate Tyreek Hill. Baltimore retook a 38-35 lead with 2:18 left on a 51-yard field goal by Justin Tucker, but Tua was unfazed as he threw a game-winning touchdown to Waddle with 14 seconds left to win. This was a hell of a game, and it was made all the better by the fact that Miami's head coach Mike McDaniel looks like a math nerd who has gotten the last laugh against all the jocks who bullied him in high school. LA Rams versus Atlanta. Atlanta almost did it. They almost pulled a 28-3 comeback themselves, which, according to ancient scripture, is the only way they can possibly reverse the curse put on their franchise since Super Bowl 51. But in typical Atlanta fashion, they came up short and ended up disappointing everybody in a 31-27 loss. After falling behind 28-3 early in the third, after Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford, still weird to say, threw 3 touchdowns, 2 to the NFL's hardest worker, Cooper Kupp. Marcus Mariota threw 2 touchdowns of his own to make it 31-17. Atlanta then returned a blocked punt for a touchdown and got a 2-point conversion to make it 31-25 with 5 minutes left. They got the ball back with 3 minutes left with a chance to win the game, but Mariota showed why he's on his 3rd team at age 28, throwing a terrible fucking interception in the end zone to Jalen Ramsey that all but sealed the game. Seriously, what a fucking terrible throw. You suck. Luckily for gamblers everywhere, LA purposely running out of the back of the end zone to take some of the final seconds off to reach the final score didn't have any major consequences. I miss my family. New England versus Pittsburgh. Mitch Trubisky merely adopted titty loving. Bill Belichick was born into and molded by it. Knowing this, Pittsburgh never stood a chance, as the Patriots won 17-14 in what was essentially an NFL version of a Big Ten football game. You know, the type that old racist white men fawn over. This game was really won on 2 plays. A long touchdown pass by safe driver Mac Jones to Nelson Aguilar just before halftime, and a muffed punt deep in Pittsburgh territory that helped New England set up a touchdown for a 17-6 lead. Pittsburgh would make it 17-14 early in the 4th, but Trubisky was unable to score any more points on his 2 fourth-quarter drives before Jones led a 6.5-minute drive to run out the clock for good. It's only a matter of time now before Kenny Kitten Mittens Pickett gets under center for the Steelers. San Francisco versus Seattle. I want to wish Trey Lance a full recovery from his season-ending ankle injury. I wanted to see Jimmy G play again, but not at the expense of Lance's health. Regardless, the 49ers are once again the Jimmy G show, so the mentions of his disarmingly handsome face and body will continue. As for the actual game, despite being 1-0, we all know Seattle sucks and that Geno Smith sucks, so it's no surprise the San Francisco team, that was a drive away from its 2nd Super Bowl appearance in 3 years last year, smacked the shit out of them 27-7, with Jimmy G throwing and running for a touchdown, disproving the anti-Italian stereotype that Italians aren't athletic. I also can't recap this game without mentioning how the only points scored by Seattle were by Michael Jackson on an 85-yard blocked field goal return. The king of pop, who allegedly loved kids a little bit too much, is back, baby. Hold on, I'm being told that it's a different Michael Jackson. Well, in my defense, the real Michael Jackson would still be a top 5 player on the Seahawks right now. Detroit versus Washington. Are the Lions actually entertaining? If their first 2 games this season are any indication, they might be. Although I'm not ready to induct Dan Campbell into the Hall of Fame for beating a Dan Snyder-owned team, it's a nice change of pace, especially if the NFL is going to stick them on Thanksgiving every year. The Lions jumped out to a massive 22-0 lead at halftime, but Super Bowl 52 champion Carson Wentz refused to go down. No offense to Nancy Reagan. Throwing back-to-back touchdown passes and cutting the Detroit lead to 29-21 early in the 4th, but Jared Goff threw his 4th touchdown of the day to make it 36-21 with 7 minutes left to effectively end the game before Wentz threw a garbage time touchdown to reach the final score of 36-27. Props to the member of Detroit who told Goff that the team signed Sean McVay as the offensive coordinator so he can go back to being good again. New York Giants versus Carolina. Well, hump my butt and call me Sally. The New York Giants are actually 2-0. Sure, they've won those 2 games by a combined 4 points, and everybody knows they aren't going anywhere, but it's still cute to see Giants fans get their hopes up before the other shoe drops. The game was tied at 6 at halftime, all off of field goals. The teams then traded touchdown passes in the 3rd to make it a 13-13 game entering the 4th. The Giants went up by 3 before Carolina answered back with a field goal of their own to tie it at 16. New York then went on a 7-minute field goal drive to take a 19-16 lead with 3:34 left, giving Cheesecake Factory enjoyer Baker Mayfield one last chance to lead a comeback, but the drive stalled out and Carolina punted. Great job, Matt Rule. New York then got a first down on 3rd and 6 to seal the win. Overall, a pretty boring and forgettable game. There was literally nobody physically closer to God in this game than Davis Mills, as he was playing at Mile High Stadium with his draft neck. Unfortunately for Mills, God doesn't exist, so he was terrible all day, and despite numerous chances, couldn't lead Houston to a win. His counterpart, Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson, wasn't much better, but he did have a nice touchdown pass early in the 4th to give Denver a 13-9 lead. That would be the only touchdown scored in this boring-ass game. Denver tacked on a field goal to make it 16-9 with 3:36 left, but despite Houston getting 2 more drives to potentially eventually tie the game, both ended with turnovers on downs. Was this the week where the Davis Mills over Trevor Lawrence memes finally begin to die? Time will tell, but Lawrence won this week decisively. Dallas versus Cincinnati. I've been on the Joe Burrow overrated train for a while now. Yes, I know, his offensive line isn't great, but he still takes too many sacks, and the quote-unquote clutch reputation he has is based off of 2 short field goal drives set up by interceptions in the playoffs last year. He also failed to score on his last 5 drives in the Super Bowl, and now Cincy has started 0-2. At a certain point, people need to realize Burrow is just as big of a culprit for his sack numbers as his offensive line. He did have a nice drive to tie this game at 17 in the 4th, but then went 3 and out on his final drive when he had a chance to win. In just 2 career starts, Cooper Rush has actually showed some nice skills and throws, especially in crunch time. As an Eagles fan, I might fear him more than Dak. Anyway, Dallas won this game 20-17 on a game-winning field goal as time expired to improve to 1-1, which perfectly encapsulates their franchise since 1996. Completely average. Another 8-9 or 9-8 season on deck for quote-unquote America's team. Fuck you. Arizona versus Las Vegas. For most weeks, this would have been hands down the best comeback, but for this week, it might rank 3rd. Still, it was incredible. After getting pounded in week 1, no offense to porn stars, Arizona fell behind 20-0 at halftime, and all the Kyler video game jokes and memes were in full effect on social media. But credit Kyler for persevering, as he led 3 touchdown drives in the second half. After falling behind 23-7 early in the 4th, Kyler led 2 touchdown drives and 2 2-point conversions to tie the game at 23 with 0 seconds left. Both 2-point conversions showed off his incredible mobility and arm talent and why Arizona gave him such a huge contract. In overtime, it looked like Arizona had blown its chance though after punting. But then normally sure-handed Las Vegas wide receiver Hunter Renfrow fumbled inside the Arizona 41 as Carr was leading the team into field goal range for the win. The fumble was then picked up and returned for a game-winning score by Arizona's Byron Murphy to win Arizona the game 29-23. It seems like shit like this only happens to quarterbacks like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Matt Ryan for whatever reason. Green Bay versus Chicago. What better antidote for Aaron Rodgers after his annual Week 1 shit show than getting to play Chicago at home? At absolutely no point in this game did it ever feel like Chicago had a chance. Not when they went up 7-3 after the first quarter, not when Green Bay fumbled a few times in the second half to keep Chicago's hopes alive, not even when Chicago got into the red zone in the 4th quarter. None. This is the power Rodgers holds over the Bears. The fact is, the Bears are always at Rodgers' mercy, and he decides when he wants the game to be over, which in this case came on a 55-yard pass to Sammy Watkins late in the 4th quarter to set up a game-sealing field goal to win 27-10. The harsh reality for the Bears is that you can have a bunch of cap space and sign a bunch of free agents next year and the year after that, but if you have a quarterback who sucks and can't throw like Justin Fields, you will always be limited and can't be taken seriously. Fields is what Lamar Jackson haters think Lamar is. Chicago will continue to be also Rams in the NFC North for the foreseeable future. Oh, and by the way, deep dish style pizza sucks major ass. It's a glorified tomato pie. Buffalo versus Tennessee. Before you hear what I have to say about this game, let's hear what ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky had to say.
Now, the big...
This game went right down to the wire, is what I would say if NFL games were only 1 quarter instead of 4, because the Bills put a whooping on the Titans over the last 3, outscoring them 34-0 to win 41-7. Very rarely does a quote-unquote sexy preseason pick to win it all end up living up to the hype, but through 2 games, that's exactly what Buffalo looks like. New driving enthusiast Josh Allen was once again unreal, throwing for 4 touchdowns and generally looking like a grown man playing with little boys, no offense to Michael Jackson. As for Tennessee, the Malik Willis era might begin sooner than many expected, with Ryan Tannehill once again playing like absolute dog shit in a big game. The only thing Josh Allen needs to be an undisputed top 2 quarterback in the league is a ring, and he just might get it this year if Patrick Mahomes dies. Philadelphia versus Minnesota. Kirk Cousins is the worst good quarterback in NFL history. He plays extremely well for 11 to 12 games every year, but he always seems to save his worst 4 or 5 games for prime time. So it's no surprise he vomited all over himself with 3 interceptions in this embarrassing 24-7 loss to my Eagles. This might have been the most impressive Jalen Hurts has ever looked in his career, throwing for over 330 yards and rushing for 2 touchdowns, while looking in complete control the entire time. His stats could have been even better had Philadelphia not gone conservative, no offense to anti-vaxxers, in the second half with a big lead. I'm actually excited about the future of Eagles football for the first time since large phallus Nicholas led us to a Super Bowl win over Tom Dilfer and introverted Rex Ryan. Fuck you and your stupid gritty dance, bitch! Never forget 38-7, baby! And now, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, puppy time!